Hello once again, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome back to RGR Football. If it's your first time on this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell to make sure you get all of our future content. I'm your host today for this episode of RGR Football's First Looks. My name is Danilo DiGiulio, aka ThunderDan88 across social media. You can catch my show, Chiefs Chat, Wednesday nights on ThunderDan channel on YouTube. Can we talk about the 6'3", 220-pound elephant in the room? That would be wide receiver Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. Multi-Pro Bowler, phenomenal talent, had a down year last year because of injury, his first one since his second season. And he wants out. The cat is out of the bag. He wants out. It's been posted on Fox, actually, FS1. Shannon Sharp let the cat out of the bag by calling Julio and talking to him about it. And Julio blurted out whether he knew he was on nationally televised syndicated show or not, that he was out of there, in his words. I'm out of there in regards to Atlanta. He's not interested in Dallas. He expressed that as well. There's no way he's going to Dallas. He said he wants to go to a winner. He wants to win. I've heard people hypothesizing as recently as today that, the Lions would be a great fit. He ain't going to the Lions, folks. There's a very small handful of teams I think that Julio would consider going to, and he's not going to want to go to somebody else. Looking at this player, I've been on the fence because my personal thoughts in general terms is that you go with the young guys and you get them developed and you bring them along and you bring them as fast as you can. I wanted to see Byron Pringle get on the field much more the last couple of years. It hasn't happened so far. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen this season. We might get a little more than we got last year. McCole Hardman's got to turn that corner. We know what we have in Demarcus Robinson and the rest of the cast that's been dressing for the last few years. We don't know what we have with Maurice French, and it'd be nice to see Jody Fortson get out there. All of that aside, despite the fact that Julio's coming off a nicked up year, and despite the fact that he's older, the dude has been stellar since entering the league as a rookie. His rookie season, he had 959 yards. His second season, he had 1,198. Third season, it was his third season he got nicked up. Third season, he had a down year. He only played 5 games because he was hurt. 5 games. He had 580 yards. That's better than 2 of the 3 years that Sammy Watkins had with the Kansas City Chiefs. His only year that exceeded that was his second year with KC when we won the Super Bowl and Sammy had 673 yards. Note the fact that Sammy didn't have a season with Kansas City where he didn't play in at least 10 to 14 games. Julio did that in a 5-game season. So this is the people that are comparing, and I myself have made the analogy that Julio could be what they hoped Sammy would become, but never really reached that point. Sammy showed flashes of it. Julio is that guy. Out of the box, bare minimum, is that chain-moving, big target, run after the catch kind of guy. And he's well beyond that. He might be on a team with crazy explosive small guys and an explosive field-stretching tight end. He might be the field stretcher that the Kansas City Chiefs are actually missing. Yes, I said it, that they're actually missing. Last year, his average was 15.1 yards per catch, his best since 2017. He hasn't hit over 15 yards per catch since 2017. It was 16 and change then. It's been in the 13, 14 range the last couple of years. He did that with 10 more catches than McCole Hardman. McCole Hardman had 13 and change. Think of the big explosive plays McCole Hardman had, and his average was 2 yards, almost 2 yards short of what Julio achieved, and Julio did that with 10 more catches. He only had 6 more targets, mind you, than McCole Hardman, but he had 10 more catches. So do the math there. It's an interesting. When you look at, maybe I've got those inverted. Maybe it was 6 more targets with, or 10 more targets with 6 more catches. Either way, he did more with less, and he did more yards per catch. He had over 700 yards, 770. He had 200 and change more than McCole Hardman had. And McCole Hardman is known for being a speed guy. Julio's gigantic. He would be great in this offense. He would be a thread-ripping CPU in a 1985 computer for this offense. He could blow this offense wide open with all the pieces that are around him. And he's done all the numbers he's put up. He's done it with Matt Ryan, a quarterback who I liked coming out of Boston College. And I wish the Kansas City Chiefs had a chance at. He was long gone before we picked. We got Glenn Dorsey instead. not the same impact on the franchise. Let's just say that. And I've been looking at this thing left, right, and sideways as to how would it be feasible to get him in town. And I started thinking, well, what do the Atlanta Falcons need? And everybody's, oh, this draft pick, I heard today it was announced they had an offer from somebody for a first round draft pick. They don't need a draft pick in 2021. 2021 draft is over. They need players. They need impact players now. They need impact players on the defense. Okay? And I've made some analogies towards players that could be moved that we might be surprised by from the Kansas City Chiefs. Bear in mind, can we all agree for a moment that Brett Veach is a different cat? Okay? Brett thinks, here's the box. Brett's wandering around over here like Rick and Morty. He doesn't care about the box. The box is irrelevant to Brett Veach. Brett Veach has his scouts. He goes, you guys work inside the box. I'll float around here in the ether. We'll all come together at a table and we'll figure it out. And he'll make he's like Captain Picard. He's just sitting there taking in everybody's ideas, and then he goes away and he makes his decisions and comes back, and maybe he and Andy together in some regards, but comes back and says, make it so, number one. Make that pick, make that trade, make that happen. Let's make the call. I look around the league, and I was looking at other options of what I could do for the show this week, and I came back around to everybody keeps asking about Julio. Everybody keeps asking about Julio. I want to talk about the rookies. I want to talk about maybe a UDFA or stuff. But these are guys that might not even be here. Now, Julio might not end up here. But if he does, it's a bigger story than anybody we drafted right now. It's a bigger story than anybody we've signed in the offseason, besides offensive line. I'm talking about UDFAs and things like that. What could we have that we could use to trade with the Atlanta Falcons that they need? And they could absolutely use and absolutely value higher than any other team might value it in the league. In a position where we have some strength and have some depth and maybe want to see what some young guys have. Now, I know I just said that about wide receiver, and that's why we maybe wouldn't trade for Julio Jones. But if we did want to go, you know what? Let's push the 2021 chips in the middle of the table, because we got a lot of guys that are going to be here for a minute. We got a lot of guys. We're not all in on one player this year. If we get them, great. How would the money work? Well, we know we have a lot of money next year. But let's not even worry about next year. This year, what do we have that Atlanta needs? Atlanta has no pass rush. Do you understand me, folks? Atlanta's pass. I looked at their roster and I could not believe how depleted their pass rush is. They have Grady Jarrett at 6'305". Grady's a tackle and maybe nose only. He's playing the middle. That's it. He's in the guts of the defense. He's not moving around like Chris Jones. He might be more of a dancing bear than most guys at his size, but he's a grinder up in the middle. Okay. Aside from that, they have Dante Fowler Jr. and I don't want to say his name wrong. Let me look at it. Adetokunbo Ogundeji, their rookie draft pick from Notre Dame. Those are the two biggest names they have in their defense for edge rushers. I'm looking at our team and going, who could we have that would balance out the money? Because Julio's expensive. That Atlanta could actually really use, and it wouldn't feel like a waste of money for them. And yesterday, somebody came into the chat and said something to the effect of, I mentioned a certain player saying we could move this guy along, we get a lot of money back. And they said, no one's going to give us anything for that guy because of how much he costs. First of all, that guy is a back-to-back Pro Bowl football player the last 2 seasons. Secondly, that guy is a Super Bowl champion and has been to 2 Super Bowls in back-to-back seasons. Thirdly, that guy was a stud throughout the playoffs on our Super Bowl run in 2020 when we won it all, and was a man of fire at the most crucial moments of the games. Maybe he didn't tear it up every single down, but when we needed him, when the push came to shove, he made things happen at the end of each of those playoff games. That man's number 55, Frank Clark. And I don't know if Kansas City has any interest whatsoever in I've only brought him up a few times because of the money. If it comes to the point where the Chiefs are like, we need to move some money, Frank's the only guy that really moves the money. Let's do a little comparison, shall we? The only 2 names on that no-name defense, aside from Grady Jarrett, obviously, we already mentioned him, for the Atlanta Falcons that have any respect on their name at all is Dante Fowler Jr., because he's had some moderate success in, bouncing around the league with the Jags and the Rams, and now he's with the Atlanta Falcons. And Addy from Notre Dame, the rookie, But he's only a name because he's a rookie and he was talked about a lot in the last couple of months. He was a 5th-round draft pick, folks. We don't know if he's going to be anything, but he looks like he could be something. Who knows? Why not bring in a veteran? Why not trade your Pro Bowler who doesn't want to be there anymore in Julio Jones to a team that's a winner, which is what he wants to go to, is out of the conference, which is always a plus, and bring in a guy who is a Super Bowl champion, so he brings that luster. He's back-to-back Pro Bowler. Julio wasn't a Pro Bowler last year because he got hurt, but he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. The only 2 years he didn't win Pro Bowl was 2 injury seasons. Other than that, they're both Pro Bowl guys. Julio's 32. Frank's 27. He's going to be 28 next month, but he's 27 right now. So there's a 4 or 5 year, 4-year, 3-month age discrepancy there. That's big. That's not a little thing, especially if Frank plays kind of same as he's been playing for the last few years. How's he been playing? Chiefs Kingdom, we complain a lot about Frank. Guess what, Chiefs Kingdom? Frank was rated the 15th highest tackler on our team. He would have been 13th on Atlanta. More importantly, he was our second leading sacker behind Chris Jones, and he would have led the Atlanta Falcons in sacks last season. Frank Clark would have led the Atlanta Falcons in sacks last season when we were all busy complaining about Frank Clark. Now you might say, well, if he's that good, why would we want to trade him? We might not. Brett Veach might be like, hey, Thunder, what are you, nuts? We're not getting rid of Frank. We love Frank. Frank's not going anywhere. And you know what? If Frank plays like he did against the Titans in our Super Bowl run in the playoffs, I'm all for it. Let's keep him. There's no reason to move him. But let's pretend we live in a universe where the Chiefs are like, you know what? It's not a crazy idea. Let's look at the numbers. And I got to look because I just punched them up a little while ago, so I got to look at the paper a little bit. I'm going to look back and forth with you guys. Okay, the pros and cons of a post-June 1st trade. Julio Jones for Frank Clark. Fill in the blanks, whatever draft picks you think need to swap to make it pan out. Okay? Obviously, we already talked about the age advantage. We've got the age advantage. Frank's much younger. Frank's much younger at a position where he can be a rotational guy and still be very effective. Frank also, before we compare them directly, Frank is also smack dab in the middle of Dante Fowler Jr. and Adi Ogundeji in size-wise. They're all like 6'3", 6'4", 255 to 265. Right in that range, they're the same guy wheelhouse-wise. Frank would absolutely be a super stud for them to learn from. Both in attitude and in style. Stylistically, he's made the most out of his ability, and he can help those guys come along, especially the rookie. Let's look at the numbers. If they trade him next Wednesday, let's say, okay, because that's June 2nd. We're looking at Wednesday coming. Julio Jones, he saves Atlanta $15.3 million, and he's $7.75 dead on the cap. Frank Clark saves Kansas City $19 million. He's $6.8 dead on the cap. That saves Kansas City about $4 million in the year. But they're basically a wash. Those numbers for those two teams, it's basically a wash. It helps both teams. It helps Atlanta at a situation where they're totally bereft of talent. And it gives Kansas City one more weapon in an area where they're already strong, but it could put them over the top in the AFC once again. And it doesn't hurt Atlanta unless they face each other in the Super Bowl, and vice versa. Guaranteed money, 2022, rather. Obviously, they're going to pay these guys this year because they want to get what they can out of them and see what they got. If it doesn't work out, in 2022, Julio is guaranteed $2 million. He's on the books for $26.3 million and $27.8 million in 2023. He is guaranteed 19.2. I was doing Frank's numbers. Julio's on the books in 2022 and 2023, both years, $19.263 million each year. He's guaranteed $2 million next year and nothing the year after that. So they can get out from under Julio if it doesn't work out. Frank, on the other hand, he's on the books for $26.3 million in 2022 and $27.8. He's guaranteed nothing. According to Overcap, both of these guys are bargain basement risks next year and the year after that. It's all about this year. How do they perform this year? Do we want to keep them on contract after this year? Do we want to restructure if they're willing to do that? They both bring strength in a position of great weakness for Atlanta. So the value of Frank skyrockets. And an area where it'd be nice to get Julio because he's got more yards per catch than any Chief last year, including Tyreek Hill, including McCole Hardman. And we just know what kind of a separating player he is. He's got the ability, folks. This is a trade that has gone in my mind from being, it's not happening, forget it, the money doesn't, this isn't what, it just makes too much sense now. Some of you are going to love this. Some of you are going to hate it. I don't care. We're all hypothesizing. It's an opinion. Opinions are like nipples. Everybody's got at least two. Okay? Well, some people have one, I guess. I don't know. Suffice it to say, we don't know Veach. At the end of the day, Brett Veach is going to do what Brett Veach is going to do. Brett Veach has ideas that nobody's even thought of yet. I didn't see Frank Clark coming. I don't think anybody did. I doubted we'd get Orlando because of, the value it gave the Chiefs. He made that happen. He does things that are outside the box, folks. While this would be outside of the box, at the end of the day, for both teams, when it comes down to it, a team that has a receiver that wants out, a team that needs leadership at a position they have a weakness at, that's Atlanta. And a value for them from a position where we have some strength and we have some depth. We have a lot of guys that need reps and a lot of guys that showed some ability last year. It might be time to move on. Or maybe Frank just turns into a monster in camp and this is all crazy hyperbole. Either way, I'm here for it. Go Chiefs.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.